Yeah, there's something about reading to poets. It's really satisfying. Can you hear me now? Okay. Oh, look, I have many papers. In my mother's room, there are many papers. Is that the way no. Okay, I have 3 poems as well. Excuse me, I realize I put too many things in here, so I have to now sort them. I should have done that. So many readings. Okay. Oh, there they are. Oh, I lost them. Okay. I'm going to read I'm Miriam O'Neill. I'm the Poet Laureate of Plymouth, and I'm so happy to be here reading with all these wonderful poets whose work I have come to love so much and appreciate so much. We have quite the little poetry community going here. I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one, it's a prose poem. It's kind of long. I'm still working on it, but it needs ears. It's called About That Day. What I'm not telling you about that day is about the blood. That I was 13 when she told me to carry the wet fistful of flesh the color of liver in a face cloth out of the room while she lay on the bed. A towel wadded high between her legs, that she shimmied her house dress to her knees on her beautiful long legs making a tent of the top sheet over the mess, her face blank and gray as a chalkboard that has just been erased, her hazel eyes half closed, the thin curve of her lashes, a sparse crescent of shadow on her cheeks. I'm not telling you how she felt, only that she said I should get the missal and the Lord's water, that we needed to send a soul to heaven. The neighbor my mother told me to call arrived in sandals and a skort, smelling of cigarettes and spearmint gum, one pink curler still pinned near the nape of her neck, the other curls all uncombed, shiny hollows across her pale scalp. Cherry's Jubilee lipstick, a gash in her face. Hands all busyness as soon as she walked in, mouthful of clucks and tisks. She sat me in the living room on the couch, didn't notice that in one hand I still held the bloody lump, in a damp cloth like a gutted fish, the little flask of Lord's water in the other. I'm not telling you that I sat there with my bundle, waiting to be told what to do next, or that that was the only choice I had to make that day. You might wonder where my siblings were that afternoon, how she had managed to send the bigger kids off somewhere before the cramping got too bad, and got the babies down to nap, all before she called me into her room and said, I've been staining for 2 days. As if in 1963 a 13-year-old girl would know what that meant. How, except for me, the living room stood as empty as Jesus' tomb, sunlight pouring in and a little breeze through the open windows lifting the curtains. There's so much I can't tell you. It might have taken all day. It might have been just an hour in the afternoon. I can't tell you what day it was, except it wasn't Sunday, because there was never a Sunday morning when we weren't all in church. What did my father say that night, arriving home from work just as we all were sitting down to eat? What did she say to him as she moved slowly, stove to table to sink, her ravenous brood all asking for more fish sticks? I can't tell you who turned the blood-stained mattress over, who made the bed up with fresh sheets, or that for sure that night in the living room the Lord's water didn't glow with mystery on its shelf below our framed print of Giotto's Virgin Mary clutching her chubby, too big baby Jesus. I can tell you that that night the space between two clumps of black-eyed yellow pansies in my mother's little garden was wider than it had been in the morning. That's all I really know. Okay. This is a poem about language and how it saves us and helps us understand things. It's called In Possession of Family. All that spring and summer you kept notes. This is what he said, what he did not say, what the doctor said about him, how his feet spoke beneath the sheet that last morning. In between practicing translation, you spent your ink to record his dying. In Italian, possessive nouns of place use articles. La mia casa, la mia stanza, the my house, the my room, though in English we don't say the. But in possession of family we say mio fratello, my brother. No article of indication, just my. The bag of his papers in your guest room closet tells fairy tales, untruths. C'era una volta, once upon a time. Forms half filled out. How often do you consume alcohol? Only on weekends. Solo nei fine settimana. And one day you wrote, his dying has sockets and keys, ways to unlock my heart if I can stand it. As if facing that door weren't hard enough. Forza means strength. O così poca forza. I have such little strength. The R rolls on the tongue, the Z stops the rolling. He liked to say, comme ci, comme ça, as if saying something bluesy or romantic, and though it was really gibberish, you knew he meant, it comes, it goes, this life, or more to the point, you lose again. Last night, so many months later, you heard his voice inside your sister's voice as she wept. The way you heard mountain snowmelt gush in the Trevi as water rained on itself, a voice all water shares, submerged, subsumed, and flowing freely, his baritone inside her soprano. You've been learning to use the verbs to open and to feel, adding adjectives as you practice we. You said, stasera apriamo tutte la finestra. Tonight, let's open all the windows. E sentiamo il bel vento, and feel the beautiful wind. And here's the last one. This poem I wrote for, apologies to those who have heard it already, I wrote for an ekphrastic event that was held over at the Duxbury Art Complex where there were 50 works of art by women who belonged to the the Massachusetts branch of the National Association of Women Artists. And 10 of those pieces were selected to have poems written in response to them. And I got to do one. And the piece that I chose was a sculpture called Inner Peace. So this is meditation on inner peace, and it begins with a quote from King Lear. And it's King Lear. If you're not familiar, toward the end of the play, they're in the prison. She thinks he has died, and she weeps over him. And then he comes to, it's sort of the Romeo and Juliet thing, then he comes to and she has died. And he says, do you see this? Look on her. Look, her lips. Look there. Look there. How we hold them, our brood of griefs, as if we were the nest and the small sarcophagus where lost love resides? Or are we a coracle that floats away from shore carrying our dead? How to house the pain? See, hear how she sleeps, how the small space between each tooth culls loss's shadow sets loose the agonic dark, seeking release. In time, the mouth once shaled with grief will open into sacred laughter, and the pursed smile announce that inner peace was always somewhere inside us. Let the third eye's lock be opened, tumbled, and let what falls away keel into life's full-sailed ship, hold grace as bright as any empty Easter grave. The world does not oyster into pearl by chance. Light does not invade the dark, nor dark the light by its own choosing. If only we let each feeling find its place, this is the key. We are our own trinity, human clay glazed with joy, gilded with sorrow, balance bronzed bright by each flame. Come, understand. The way in is the way out. Thank you.